Well, hello there, and a very warm welcome to this edition of the Blether with me, Gary.
And me, William. This month we have not one guest, but two, in fact. It could be described as a bit of a musical duo, but we'll find out about that later on.
Absolutely, and we're delighted to welcome to the Blether two of the most respected musicians in the Scottish dance band world. So it says in my notes here, anyway.
Yes, we had to say that. Yes, so they would have switched off right now. Yes,
That was the only condition for coming on to the Blether, I'm told.
Both of them are well known to dancers across the globe, and it's a huge pleasure to welcome the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society music director and the director designate,
Luke Brady and Ian Muir.
Hey, there they are. There's no hope, ladies and gentlemen, because I also have to introduce you and congratulate the new chair of the RSCDS, Gary Coull. I rest my case. Things are not looking good, folks, but we'll keep clinging to the lifeboats. It'll be fine. I'm sure.
We'll hang on in there and we'll be okay, I'm sure.
No, congratulations, Gary. We're a very good place, and you too as well. The music director's post, huge post, the biggest in the society, and that's what we're going to come on to later. But thanks to everybody who wrote in about Lizzie, our treasurer, last week. And Lizzie's away in an elephant again somewhere. Those of you who are watching will know all about Lizzie and her elephants. But tremendous, again, a volunteer who does a fantastic job as a treasurer. And thanks to Lizzie, and thanks to you all for that. And I should also tell you about a little note I got from a Japanese member in the last week or so, who had just discovered that I'd had a little heart problem, and she wrote to hope I was doing okay. I'd met her in Japan and all the rest of it, and she said how much she enjoyed the Blether. Brackets, I don't understand too much of it, but I enjoy it, she said. So, hello, konnichiwa to all our Japanese members. Konnichiwa, great to see you all.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Gary, here we have these two.
I have to say, folk who've got English as their first language probably really struggle with this as well.
That's a struggle too, yes. And of course, we have an English teacher with us tonight, and Luke.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to show this to anyone I work with, I'll be honest.
Having said that, Ian Muir from Ayrshire and Luke Brady from a Dundonian and Ayrshireman, there must be a joke in there somewhere, Gary, I reckon.
Absolutely, by the end we might figure one out.
Well, maybe
if you add in Dumfries and Galloway in the Shire, you're definitely going to get a joke between the four.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. But no, it's absolutely great. And it's great to see you, Ian, because for you two youngsters, Ian and
that's Luke and me, not
that's right. Yeah. Ian and I go back a long way, because he's just over the border in Ayrshire and I'm in Dumfriesshire. And as wee boys, a few years ago now, we did concerts together, and I did my wee Andy Stewart songs, and Ian came on and did his Will Starr impersonations, and we did concerts in great places, high places. I mean, like Newcomnock and Sanquhar and One Lock Head and Moffat. Yeah, tremendous. It was great, Ian. So it's
you
really
made up at least one of them, at least one of those places.
So they all exist, I can assure you.
Anyway, he's not a geography teacher.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to be. Anyway, let's go on with the business, because you're clearly in the same place tonight, you two, and it's terrific. So the whole idea for our members is that our management board and so on thought that the music director's post is such a big post. It's such a big responsibility, has a finger in everything that we do, really, that Ian is joining Luke for 6 months, or whatever it is, and you two are going to have a look at the music post and see what you can come up with. And it's great having Ian on board, because we do know Ian's credentials, and fantastic, Luke, isn't it, to have Ian on board with you?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely, just there couldn't be better. Absolutely couldn't be better. And I'm not saying that because he's sitting here beside me. Just
paid him 20.
So one of my first interactions with Ian actually was way back when I was young and Gary wasn't quite so young. When membership services used to do CDs of the old books that we were digitizing, Ian's band was in doing 34, was it? I think book 34. And I was in those days a lowly member of membership services, where I was one of the people manning the stopwatch in the days when we did that.
That's right, I forgot about that.
So that was my introduction to Ian, and from that moment on, I actually went back and found everything that I could find that Ian had recorded and kind of listened to it. So absolutely fabulous, and some of the best the best music we've ever produced has been under this man's name. So
Oh.
no qualms at all. No
Thank you.
qualms at all with this man as music director.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Ian, how did you, I mean, Williams kind of mentioned a bit about the two of you working together, but how did you get into playing the accordion those 20 years ago?
20 years ago. I actually started playing the cornet, believe it or not, in the local silver band. And but I had actually to share a mouthpiece with my neighbour, and I didn't fancy that very much at all. That's true. This is true. So the cornet got chucked, and my grandfather went down to Ayr one day and came back with a wee accordion, a 32 bass Royal Standard accordion. And I went for lessons with a guy in Ayr called Jim Hudson, and it was classical accordion that I learned from Jim. He wasn't really into Scottish music at all, so it was classical and a bit of jazz, and he would throw the token Scottish medley in, and that was came through the BCA, British College of Accordionists exam system, and so I went there for, oh goodness me, I think it was about 8 years. So, but always loved Scottish music, always loved the Alexander Brothers. Mother and father always had Tom and Jack LPs.
Absolutely.
Or 45.
Well,
Oh, 45.
Yeah.
the new Tom and Jack.
Tom and Jerry, more like.
Yeah.
But so that was I always loved Scottish music, and I just and then I started playing when I was 16. I started playing with Kenny Thompson and the Wardlaw Scottish Dance Band, and I played 17, I think it was, when I started playing with Kenny, and that was me until I was 20, 21. And thereafter I formed my own band after I was released from Kenny Thompson's band. But I had a great time. Kenny taught me so much about Scottish country dancing and playing for the music, for the dancing. So it was invaluable. It really was. So.
Ian, let's jump right to the end of your working life, so to speak, although you're volunteering for us and you're and so on, but your actual employment, you finished up, and this is no mean feat, as the accordion supremo of the conservatoire in Glasgow, didn't you? The music conservatoire, which was a great thing, because I can remember in my lifetime that, you know, Scottish traditional music was just frowned upon. You couldn't even do your exams in Scottish schools with Scottish traditional music a way back. And then all of a sudden, there Muir, an accordionist, a Scottish dance band, in the conservatoire teaching Scottish accordion. Fantastic. What was that like, Ian?
Well, that was great. I was in there right from the working group that set up the traditional music course. But before that, when you mentioned the exams at school, I was maybe not the first, but I was one of the first to do O grades and hires in the accordion. And it was my music teacher at Doon Academy in Dunmellington, and it pushed for me to sit the exam on the accordion. And I always remember I had to play a suite for accordion by an American guy called Alan Hovines. And it was the most weird thing I'd ever played. And Spanish Gypsy Dance and a Scottish March, just being real. That was my...
That's what I did for my standard grade, Spanish Gypsy Dance.
Yeah.
Can't play it now, but I did. Could then.
We're
not doing. No.
Can I just mention to our friends south of the border and elsewhere that O grades and hires are the same as O levels and A levels south of the border.
Right.
We
have our own system up here, so it's great. But look, you had a similar sort of background. I mean, classical music. So
eventually, I think it's interesting, because there's always a similar sort of genesis, I think, to people picking up the box, because it can be a strange thing to do. You know, there's not many of us doing it. You know, it's not like when you go to high school and they come in with the violin and the bassoon and it's not part of the piano. It's not part of the suite of instruments that they instinctively try to get people to play. So for me, it came through my grandfather, who always wanted to play, couldn't afford to, but when he was older and had grandkids, had the opportunity to introduce them. So all four of my generation, of myself, my brother, and my cousins, all to some degree play. Myself and my younger brother Adam are the main two that have stuck at it, and we might get good at it at some point. But my kind of lineage of Scottish music really comes from, it's a very Dundee centric lineage. Obviously, the place of Jimmy Shand, but my big hero was a kind of a little known accordionist outside of accordion circles. John Huband was my kind of big hero, and I can actually pinpoint the time and the place and the set that made me want to play the accordion. I was 6 years old at a Muirhead accordion band concert that my elder cousin Gary was playing at, and the curtains opened and they started playing A Dashing White Sergeant at a rate of knots, and I turned to my grandmother and said, I want to do that, and I was promptly given a small accordion, and I still play the set today, actually. So we went through that, but then when I didn't want to play any other instruments. I just wanted to play the accordion. So I desperately tried to avoid playing anything else. So while I was at school, you had to do 2 instruments, but one of your instruments could be music theory. You know, that you could specialize in music theory. So I took the view that I had been playing the accordion since I was 6 years old. There wasn't any way I was taking up another instrument, and after 2 years sitting an exam, I didn't want to do that. I'll focus on music theory. And I had a very good music teacher, Maureen Rutherford, who is a previous music director, known to many of us. Had a special thank you from Mr. Coull as well, I think, when he became the chairman. And she, gave me all that grounding in musical theory, and then promptly moved jobs. And the problem was that the class was myself and 6 teenage girls who were all singers. And they all smiled at me and said, could you play the piano for us to sing to? And I don't know why, but I suddenly became okay with learning another instrument. And I figured out how to play the piano to accompany the singers. And so I kind of self-taught myself the piano from that. And although I love the accordion, I consider myself an accordionist first and foremost. I've spent most of my time playing the piano, because when I left school, I went to university, and then after university, I went and spent 7 brilliant years playing for the Scottish School of Contemporary Dance and the Royal Ballet School and Scottish Dance Theatre, playing for ballet classes, contemporary dance classes, and that was mainly on the piano. And I absolutely loved that. It taught me so much about playing for dance, playing for movement, which I think I was able to bring into playing for Scottish country dancing. But definitely an accordionist first. But yes, I ended up going in a totally different direction for some time.
And when did you start playing for Scottish country dancing? Was it in Dundee that you started playing for classes and then formed your own band?
So I started playing for country dancing when I was 16. So actually quite late. There was an advertisement in the local paper for someone to play for Scottish country dance. And it's a funny thing. I'd never played for it before. I'd never really heard of it before, but I was nervous of doing it because I thought it would be very exacting. It would be very strict. It would be very, it was that White Heather Club sort of reputation, as it were. So I was very, very, and me being a shy, retiring soul, I was very, very nervous. Nobody believes this, but I made my mother come with me to the first class I ever played for. And some of your listeners may actually remember Jim Healy, who was a convener of membership services and a chairman. He was actually the teacher of the class. So for those that maybe remember him, if you were a little bit nervous, Jim had an intimidating look to him. He was a big, burly, kind of bearded Scotsman, kind of Claymore-looking chap. But he was incredibly musical and deeply interested in the music and had such a love of it that again, I was so lucky. I've been so lucky. The people I've just bumped into doing this have always been the most helpful, the most wonderful people. I think being taught by Mo is another great example. That was just fabulous luck. Fabulous.
So what about So let's cut to the chase. And so Scottish country dancing, Ian, you were at the conservatoire, you got young students in there. I've met lots of young accordionists in my rural area here, play ceilidh bands and so on like that and all the rest of it. I've said to them so often, you know, fancy playing for Scottish country dancing. And as a kind of thought goes into their head and they go, well, you know, I can get the band together on a Friday night and we can play for a ceilidh and we just hand knit it, as we call it in Scotland. We just shout the chords, make it up as we go along and get paid just as much as I would having spent hours and hours and hours making up sets of tunes for Scottish country dancing. Ian, how do we get over that problem? How do we get young people playing for Scottish country dancing?
That is the question, because I've tried. I actually co-wrote the Playing for Dancing module with a guy called Matt Smalleen, and of course, dancing incorporated the ceilidh dancing, Scottish step dancing, old time dancing, and Scottish country dancing. And I think it's the discipline of playing for Scottish country dancing that puts younger people off. They want to play just as fast as they can, and they don't really bother about counting bars. They just play tune after tune after tune until they get tired. And of course, I tried to instill that, you know, that kind of discipline, and it's also good fun, you know. But I don't know what we'll have to do, but that's definitely a focus for us to work on, to try and encourage younger players to play, because we need younger players to play and we need younger dancers to dance. For the whole thing to move forward. So that might be a thing for classes, you know, at summer school or out with summer and winter schools. You know, we could do it maybe around the schools. We could go out and take it into the schools to see if we can try and encourage, as I say, younger players and younger dancers.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think one of the things I try and impress on dancers as well is that the amount of work that goes in to the classes, for a start, if we're lucky enough to have live music at classes, but also, you know, for a dance of 18 to 22 dances in an evening, how much work actually goes into that beforehand. And, you know, getting dancers and branch committees and club committees to appreciate that and the amount of work that you know, you don't just turn up and play. You've got a huge amount of work beforehand, and then the travelling to get there, the practicing, the keeping up with your instruments and stuff like that. So how much work goes into preparing for a 18-22 dance programme?
Well, I mean, you've hit it in the head there, because you've got all the originals that you've got to find, and let's face it, there are thousands and thousands of dances, and you get some in a programme. I think I've never even heard of that. So, but you've got to go and do your research, but that's part of the fun. I like doing that. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
I enjoy finding tunes that think, oh, right. And then you put the set together that matches that original tune. And that's part of the fun of getting tunes that match up. And you build your set from there. And so you do that, as you say, 18 or 20 times in a night. But that's quite a bit of work. To do that, and you've got to do that. The preparation is the big part. The playing is a big part. The preparation is even bigger.
So I think we do have a lot of young folk who do play, and once they get the bug for that preparation thing and actually putting the sets together, they actually love it. It becomes something that they really, really enjoy. And I know you folks are good at sharing your sets to other folks and all the rest of it. But Ian, you said something earlier about, you know, with young dancers, young music. The dancers need the musicians, the musicians need the dancers. We're all in this together. We really are. And, you know, I felt at the AGM, we really had a feeling that we were all together and we were really moving forward, which is terrific. You did also mention about, you know, teachers asking, well, Gary did, about, you know, doing a class with a teacher. And I do have to say my previous music director, who lives just down the road from here, George Meikle, of course, good old George likes to drop me in it as much as he possibly can. So a meeting at the AGM, when I mentioned that we're talking about new folk coming through the door, and I said, you know, have you got a live? So George plays for me at the class, and new folk come through the door. So I say to George, look, forget what I sent you. Just forget what I sent you. We'll have to change it. And at which point George paused and he said, yes, William, if you sent me anything in the first place, which was fantastic. Just great. Yeah, Ian Muir knows that as well, because we did a thing in Glasgow together once, and I was about to start, and Ian turned to me and said, just before we go any further, William, can you tell me what we're about to do?
Well, and I've played for you, William, and been asked for hundreds of bars. So, I mean,
Hundreds of bars.
it's
Maths was never my good point.
but I think it's to add to that, it's definitely the preparation, and I think it's the upfront preparation. I think that's the big thing, because if you don't have, so we're in the position where we've done it for so long, we'll have sets of tunes, and you can put an original tune in front of it, but as you say, there are so many original tunes and so many slight variations on the style of tunes and the key they're in originally, that you have to have quite a large canon of stuff, of sets to put things in. Once you've done that groundwork, it becomes easier. But there's a lot of upfront work to get to that point. And I think that might be what puts a lot of them off, is the idea that it's this mountainous thing to start with, and so the barrier to entry is quite challenging. I've also done talks occasionally about, if you actually imagine what we look like as an organization to a musician outside, it's quite funny. You know, would you come and play for us? You don't get to decide what you play. You don't get to decide the order in which you do it. You don't get to decide how fast you play. You don't get to decide if we do it again. You don't get to speak to the crowd. You know, all those things that are just givens for every other performing musician anywhere.
Yeah.
And we have to work under it's amazing we're able to get any applause out of anyone with the number of sort of boxed restrictions that are. You know, that's why I think that's what people perceive as a barrier. Yeah. But it's not. It's something that you can really work within, and you learn how to do it, and you learn how to kind of express you, because all the bands do sound different. So there are ways that we clearly are able to do it. You know, we are able to get our own sound in there.
You express your own style.
Absolutely, and if it's Deal Among the Tailors on the programme, your Deal Among the Tailors will sound different from mine's, from George's, from Frank Thompson's, from Ian McPhail. So the styles can all be so different. But I think to those outside, they don't always see that. So that's the message we get across, that you can still bring yourself into the music, you know?
So listen, guys, we've got the situation where you two are going to be working together now for a wee while to look at the music director's post. What are you going to do? What have you got your heads together yet, or have you just been blethering over a cup of coffee, or what's the plan? Our members are desperate to know this.
Well, we've had a couple of coffees as well. You know, we've had a couple of teas as well.
Take your mug.
You got Donald Duck. So we've had a meeting already, pretty much trying to get what you opened by saying it's a massive job. And it has fingers in every single pie in the society. Essentially, at least on paper, if we put a musician in the field, the music director is in some way involved. So that's technically everything. So it's getting our heads around literally everything that's going on at the moment, and then saying, right, okay, so what can we do? You know, what can one person do? Do we need more people? Do we need to reorganize it? Do we need to? So actually we're still, I would say, at the stage of figuring out what the lay of the land actually is before we decide how to.
And I think it's also good to have a few different ideas. So we're talking about subcommittee, music subcommittee, other people with different ideas, which will feed into the pot and hopefully make the whole thing better. You know? Or just not better, but we'll just I don't know,
smoother.
Make it future proof.
Yeah.
Gary, this is exactly what we've been talking about, isn't it? Just taking stock. Where are we? You know, we can't just keep thundering on like we've done for the last 100 years. Just taking time, getting a view of where we are, and all kinds of bits of the society. And
it's been able to get people involved as well, because, you know, as we've mentioned a few times now, the music director's role has grown over the years to something that is now very big. And it's about how do you share that load amongst people of, Luke's working full time, and how do you get people who are still working involved,
Well,
and it doesn't just become an
Yeah.
organisation that only retired people can volunteer for.
Absolutely. And the other thing, as well as that, is the international aspect, because we have so many fantastic international players playing for our dance music.
Absolutely.
So we're looking to bring them into the fold more and get them involved. Because, I mean, you go across to America, North America, and across the West Coast, and it's very fiddle based. That's the sound that they like, you know, and as we spoke earlier, look, you know, you come to this country and it's accordion based. So, you know, we've got to try and just get the two merged and make the sound that suits all parts of the world. That's what we've got to embrace, and we've got to develop that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, go on, Gary.
I was just going to say, talking about international music, and I suppose this ties into a question that we've had sent in around our digital offering as a society, because at the moment we're still very CD heavy. It's amazing we've even got to CDs. We're not still on EPs, but we are on CDs. But there is a growing demand for online or digital music, particularly from our international members, because it's expensive to put out, and less folk have CD players now than used to. Where are we with that? Are we moving in that direction?
So you can understand the question and the frustration, because one, you're dealing with what is now legacy media. People aren't producing CDs and albums now. And two, the cost as well. And three, the easy access that everybody has to digital music and digital media. And I can understand how frustrating it is that we're not there. The thing that we're trying to crack, I don't want to get kind of too bogged down in it, but the thing that we're trying to crack is how to make that economically viable. The truth of the matter is it costs about, so to use the last album we made, the book 53, it costs about £7,000 to get a world-class band in the studio, a world-class studio, mixed, edited, mastered, and then copyrighted, and all the bits we need to pay for using all the music, and then get it produced. £7,000. So we're 2 albums for book 53, £14,000. We need to make £14,000 back. It's not about making profit and money, it's about covering those costs. Now, if we charge £12 a CD, we get £12 for that, and that covers that after you sell about 1,100 covers the cost, and we can sell 1,100 CDs. Digital products, we get about £3 to £4 per album at the moment, using the legacy project. If we used iTunes or Amazon or something, that would mean we would need to sell about 4,000 albums in order to make something economically viable. So we can't do it because we don't have that market. That's why we can't do it the simplest way, which is to just bung it straight up. Another suggestion that's been made quite often is, well, can we not provide the track ourselves, in a Dropbox, or send a file or a Google Drive or all that sort of thing? So over the past year, myself and the previous convener of membership services, Angela, we're trying to take meetings with some tech people, some tech companies in Scotland, to say, or some preliminary conversations to say, essentially that conversation, why can't we do that? And they said, oh, here's why. And then tapped away on the computer and were able to show us, IP addresses and digital locations of everyone that was downloading stuff from a Dropbox or from a Google Drive. So there's security concerns there. They also kind of said, you're looking for a commercial solution. You need something that people can download from pretty worldwide and pretty consistently. There's a joke that in Scotland, almost every dance class is on a Thursday night. A normal Dropbox, if it tried to do 50 downloads from 50 different places worldwide, it would crash. So that's entirely. So what we're looking for is a commercial solution. Now, I'm really sorry because I've talked far too long, but essentially that's why we're not there yet. So what we're now looking at is bigger and wider. We're actually going to some companies saying, okay, can we build the solution then? Can we solve these problems? Can we actually look at an app-based solution where we're in control of it, we provide it, you download it, and we do it? It's an in-house thing built to commercially deliver our stuff. So we're not there yet, of course, but hopefully RSCDS, the app, is something that we are kind of looking at providing. Now, we're so early down that road, there's no way you could commit to that happening, but that's where we need to go, because what we're actually looking for is we're looking for a solution to something that multimedia corporations deliver for an organization of 8,000 people. And that's quite challenging. That's quite challenging, and making it secure, available, and protected, and economic. So that's where we are. So, and I know that probably will disappoint some people, because I'm not able to say I can announce today everything's available at the end of this meeting. But what I also hope it gets across is no one has been sitting on it. We've been desperately searching for these solutions, and unfortunately, every time we find a way down one, it's that's not quite going to work. So, but we are happily now in a place where we're actually taking some meetings with some companies to actually look at building a solution. So I
think, gentlemen, this is great news, isn't it? I mean, it just shows the society has got its head out of the sand, and we are dealing with all these issues, and it's a fast-changing world. I mean, Ian, when you first recorded a 78 RPM record, this must be mind-boggling to you, digital.
It is. I have no clue. No clue.
Join the club.
I think it's one of those things where I know that. So my predecessor, another Ian Muir, I think he arrived desperate to try and fix the digital distribution, and he went so far. He got a lot of us. He was the one that originally got us up onto iTunes and Spotify, and he was the first one to make stuff available digitally, but not the new stuff, and it wasn't digital releases and things. So it's got us some way there. And I know that the last convener of membership services, Angela, came in thinking, right, we'll get a handle on this, we'll get it fixed. I know that that's where you want to go. I know that's where I wanted to go. It's just such a complicated thing. And the problem is there's so many scunners. There's a Scots word for you. There's so many scunners with it when you think you've found a solution, and it won't stand up to actually how we want to use it. There's nothing worse.
Tricky.
And I think it's the fact that the membership, quite rightly, they look at it and they think, but it should be easy. I can just go and get I can get things online, and I have such sympathy for that. But we are trying, and I hope that gets across that we have done a lot of work on it.
Yeah. And Jeremy, who's the new convener of membership services, is also very keen on this as a board. So we're, as you say, we are keen to move this forward. It's just finding the right way. But it's not unique to us, is it? I mean, this is a big issue for kind of the music industry, and a lot of artists that are out there who would have depended on album sales, and folk can now pick and choose which tracks from an album they want to buy and which ones they don't, or they don't buy any at all, and they just stream it, and you get pennies for that.
So the artist gets
zero
that much.
Well, I mean, it's the old thing about the indie artists selling their albums at the back of the car at the end of the gig and stuff, and it's that. When you think that was probably.
Excuse me. Scottish dance bands do that as well.
Yes, I understand.
Any village hall in Scotland, you'll find the boot open at the end of the night and the CDs getting sold.
Absolutely. And that's the problem. Is that's the bit that's gone. That's the bit.
Absolutely. Aye.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys. I mean, hopefully you'll come back in the Blether again as this all moves forward, because we've almost run out of town. But I mean, do you pair share a flat or what? I mean, you live together.
We thought we'd get together so that you didn't divide us apart and then mute us. You know, that sort of
divide and rule. Okay, yeah.
Right.
But the nice thing is, Gary, well, I think it's a nice thing. They've both got their boxes with them, so they're going to play us out tonight, which will be great.
So yes.
All
Are we getting a Disney medley, Luke?
I would love to play a Disney medley.
It's maybe something that the members don't know that much about you, Luke, that you're a big Disney fan.
I am a massive Disney fan, Disney fan. So when I stop being music director, you'll be able to find me in Paris or Florida or California or someplace.
Well, before you do that, I mean, seriously, we need to keep developing this, and we'll have you back and just keep us in tow with what's going on, so the members get to know what's happening, and it's just terrific doing this. But thank you both for what you're going to do, what you are doing for Scottish country dancing and for the society. It's just absolutely fantastic, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, a huge amount of work's put in, by Luke over the last few years, and I know Ian will be hugely dedicated to the job as well. We've got, we're in safe hands, really.
We are indeed.
Both. And thank you very much for everything that you're doing and will do in the future as well.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next month, when we're going to have a bit of a surprise, aren't we?
Yes, we're going to keep who's appearing as a little surprise, so you have to tune in and see who's
tune in next.
They'll be near Christmas, so there might be a bit of
the new year
party theme around the next Blether.
So, ladies and gentlemen, to play us out, it's the duo here. But before we do that, it's a cheerio from him and me.
And a cheerio from me and him.
Take it away, boys.
2.